Howdy, everyone. Leslie Hassler, your Biz Rules. Welcome back for another afternoon. It is Tuesday at 4. Man, the days are long. Some days we're doing so much good stuff here. I had another strategic planning session this morning with a client. We celebrated our wins. We talked about where we are. I'm really proud of this client because she has put in so many new ways to find new clients into her services. And that's tremendous to do that in such a short period of time. So really good, really all the strategic planning, while we're not celebrating massive wins, right? We're not celebrating huge exponential growth, which is what we're used to. We're celebrating the fact that we're here, right? We're open, we're stable, and it doesn't look dire. We still have to be cautious. We still have to proceed with caution. But that is a win in and of itself. So before we even dive into what we're doing today, I just want to say, make sure you're celebrating your wins. No matter how big, how small, I don't care. Just celebrate them because they're really important. And one of the quotes that I love so much is, you celebrate what you want to see more of. And so you got to celebrate every little thing along the way, especially right now, and even maybe keep a journal, keep a little running list of all the wins so that when we're out of this, and we will get out of this, but when we're out of this, you can go back and remember what you actually accomplished, because it's going to be something pretty tremendous and you're going to want to keep that in there. So as always, guys, feel free to ask questions along the way. Let me know your thoughts. I'm always, I say yesterday, I think I said I miss speaking so much because I love being in front of an audience, and it really doesn't matter the size. It can be 3 people. It could be 300 people. They're fun on both levels, but part of the reason I love it is because I love the interactions. I love when I tell a story and you hear the ahas or the all that. That's what really makes it worth it. So we're talking today a little bit about Microsoft, and I kind of alluded to it yesterday when we were talking about what Henry Ford and Yoda have in common. And wasn't that kind of fun? I kind of got off on that, I must say. It was a guilty little pleasure. So really what we're just talking about is like, what can we learn from Microsoft's early days? And one of the things that we're going to talk about, and this is, there's a Masters of Scale, I believe is the right name of the podcast, Reid Hoffman. He did a 2-part interview probably in December of 2019 with Bill Gates. And it's a fascinating interview, guys. You really should go check it out. But what they talked about was Microsoft's journey, right? That scaling journey. And I think part of one of the golden nuggets of it really come from the early days of Microsoft. And when Microsoft first started, they had a symbiotic relationship with IBM. So that in and of itself is a great strategy. It's something you could put to use in your business today, is really finding strategic partnerships that are complementary, but not competitive, that are symbiotic, that serve a similar client, where you can leverage both audiences, and it's a win-win. So that's a great strategy to pick up, and that's really what Microsoft and IBM had early on. But along the journey, Bill Gates and the leadership of Microsoft understood that the good thing they had going wasn't going to last forever. They didn't know what would happen, didn't know when it would happen, didn't know how it would happen. They just knew that eventually it would happen. And that's really, I think, an important lesson to understand, because as business owners, we can get wrapped up when times are good, and times have been really good for a really long time, haven't they? And we get forgetful in the fact that things can change so quick. And I think COVID has shown us how things can shift so quick for so many people. And so Bill Gates and the leadership had this concept that this could happen to them, that their business could change in such a way that it could be detrimental, that it could require an entire shift of business model. Sound familiar yet? Right? That their whole customer supply chain and how that is managed could shift. And so they started having these Friday lunch meetings, if you will, where they assigned teams, like maybe a 3-person team in the company would be assigned to find the company's weaknesses, find the places where they were the most vulnerable, find the ways, or ask the crazy question: what would happen if we couldn't meet in person? What would happen if we couldn't make a sale? What would happen if our partner decided that they could do what we're doing and do it on their own? What would happen then? And it wasn't just a matter of really asking that question. It's an important question to ask. You should be asking this question in your yearly strategic plans. You should have really an outside person help come in, or if you've got a doubting Thomas in your life, having that person come in and poke holes, because we can get too close to things, like we can't see them. So these teams would identify these opportunities or vulnerabilities in the business, and then they would plan a solution. They would come up with a hypothesis. They would say, well, if this happened this way, this is what we could do next. Here would be our next step. And if you think of it, it might sound weird. I mean, they did this for something like 7 years, guys. 7 years, 52 weeks out of a year. I think that's about 364. I haven't checked my math. 364 meetings about vulnerabilities in the company and what you would do. So when the time came, because it did eventually come, that IBM wanted to do this on their own, that they felt like they could take this service that Microsoft was performing and do it on their own, Microsoft just reached into their little playbook and pulled one out, right? They were prepared. Now, I didn't know COVID was coming, had no idea COVID was coming, but I knew something was coming. I didn't know when it was coming, but I knew that it would come, because so much of our marketplace, so much of our economy, so much of our humanity is very cyclical, and it repeats itself. So we've been in such a long period of good. And if you really had the mindset that you needed a parachute or a safety net building up during that time of good, then you've put money aside, right? You've planned for some contingencies. You maybe even had something in development that you could actually move forward with. For several of my clients, we were already working on diversification, right? Because that's the level of growth that they were at. They had a good, strong base with a good, solid clients, seeing really good success there, but we needed to diversify. So our strategic plans at the beginning of the year already were talking about diversification. So when suddenly the main bread and butter of the business wasn't functioning like it should be, we already had things in works, or could even layer on more with it. So I don't want you to make you feel like you're behind the 8 ball, or that where you are you can't come back from, because you can. We're actually in this really weirdly beneficial time, even though it doesn't feel like it is, of a reset, of pause, right? You've got more time right now to get ahead of things than you've ever had before. You likely just don't have the same kind of pressures. Now, you have some other ones, don't get me wrong, but you can actually take this time period, which is an inflection point impacting everyone, and do something with it. Shift, change, look at your business model, look at how you serve your clients, right? There's so many elements of your business that you can retool, and you can do it with people's blessings. Like, everybody's on board because they all want the same outcome. They all want to win, right? They want to look back at 2020 and say, whew, man, that was a heck of a year, but we made it. We won. And look at us now, right? So that's really the moral of the story, if you will, right? is that you can treat this as your personal inflection point. The thing is you just need to get into action, right? You need to be able to take a step forward. And what we're hearing from a lot of business owners is that's the scariest part, because you feel like you don't know what the next step is, like you don't have a map, you don't have a path. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing these videos. In fact, if you want to make sure, I think it's in the posting already, we're doing a little Facebook Messenger when we're going to go live, so you don't miss any of these live sessions. And I'm really bringing good value, good things that you can put into work immediately. I've already shared just 2 in this call that you can start to look at stabilizing your business and beginning to grow again, and what scalability might look like in the future, because it is a blank slate of a time. You can fix so many things. You know, we're working on a 5-day challenge, which will be in July, late July. And I was working on day 1 and what day 1 was. And it was interesting, because it's like, really and truly, if you could just wipe the slate clean, eraser the whiteboard, and start over, what would things look like? Right? Because that's an amazing gift that we have. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you're doing well. I hope this gave you some ideas, some ahas. Let me know what your questions are. Be sure to tune back in tomorrow, and we'll go into a little bit more of what you could be doing in your business right now to stabilize and get ready to grow again. So I'm Leslie Hassler, your Biz Rules business coaching. And until then, we'll talk to you tomorrow.